All right, we are officially back on the record. Then appearances are as they were before. We'll bring the jury out, and then the state may call its next witness. So go ahead.
Perfect time for the record to address their subject matter.
The jurisdiction, Your Honor. Be a perfect time.
The request to address it is denied.
Is that a judicial determination, Your Honor?
It's denied.
Is that
I'm not going to address it right now. I've addressed it previously. There's no new information. Denied.
Is it a judicial determination you're making, Your Honor?
The record speaks for itself.
Can it be filed in a motion?
I don't understand the question.
Can I file the motion that I've been
I'm not going to
raising?
answer that, sir. I'm not going to direct you to file something or not file something. The jury's coming out.
Is that a judicial determination, Your Honor?
All right.
It's a tacit agreement. It's a tacit agreement.
All right, thank you, everyone. Please be seated. State may call its next witness.
Thank you. The state calls Debora Ramirez.
Good afternoon, Ms. Ramirez. If you would please make your way to my witness stand, which is to my right up a riser. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand, and then my clerk, Teresa, who's all the way across from you, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Thank you. Please be seated. The first thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and then spell each.
Debora Ramirez, Debora, last name Ramirez.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Ms. Ramirez, where do you live? What city?
Waukesha.
Okay. Are you familiar with the annual Waukesha Christmas Parade?
Yes, we go every year.
Okay. So were you there last year, November 21st of 2021?
I was.
Who were you there with?
My boyfriend, our 4 kids, and my dad.
Okay. Was one of those kids a 12-year-old?
Yes.
What is that child's name?
Isaac.
And what's his last name?
Foglia Ramirez.
Do you remember where you and your family were seated during the parade?
I can't remember the exact street name. We were across the street from Chef Pam's kitchen.
Do you know if you were on Main Street?
Yes.
Do you remember what intersection you were near?
I can't remember.
Okay. May we please display for the jury and the witness exhibit number 15, which is previously published. We zoom in a little bit on the 5 points intersection. Okay, do you see the screen in front of you, Ms. Ramirez?
I do.
Do you see a green box with your name and Isaac's name in it?
Yes.
Do you see a black line connecting that box to an orange star?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the area that this map represents?
Yes.
Okay. In terms of the Sunday afternoon of the Christmas parade last year, is that orange star an accurate representation of the approximate area where you and your family were watching the Christmas parade?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do you remember anything significant or out of the ordinary happening while you were watching the parade?
At one point during the parade while we were watching, I remember my boyfriend suddenly screaming, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa!" And then when he screams, I looked to my right, and that's when I saw a red vehicle coming right towards us.
You previously said that you were across the street from Chef Pam's,
Yes.
so you would have been on the south side of the street?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember what the vehicle that was speeding towards you looked like?
Speeding.
Sustained as to the form of the question, please rephrase.
Okay, my mistake. I thought that that's what you said. Ms. Ramirez, do you remember what the vehicle looked like as it approached you and your family?
It was a red SUV. That's all I remember.
What happened as it got closer?
I froze as it was coming closer. By the time that I finally tried to move, it was already like right at us, and I was hit on my left foot, left leg.
What area of your left foot and left leg?
Objection.
It was on top of my left foot. The tire went over my foot.
Where were you in position? Where were you positioned in relation to Isaac?
I was standing to the right of Isaac.
Okay. Did you notice whether or not Isaac was hit?
I did not until I didn't know he was hit until after it happened, that he said, "Mom, my leg hurts."
Isaac was standing next to you, you said?
Yes.
And the vehicle ran over your left foot.
Yes.
When you say next to you, do you mean Isaac was immediately to your side, or in front of you, or behind you, or some other description?
He was to my left, standing just probably about a few inches ahead of me.
What happened after the vehicle ran over your foot?
I fell to the ground, and I was kind of disoriented at first. All I remember was hearing the vehicle speeding past us towards other people. And looking all around me, I just remember seeing a lot of people on the ground as I was looking around to see if my kids were okay.
While you were on the ground, could you hear the sound of the vehicle engine?
The objection's noted. It's overruled. You may answer.
I remember hearing the vehicle as it was. I don't remember hearing the vehicle hitting the brakes. I remember hearing accelerate instead of stopping.
Did you seek medical treatment after the parade?
I sought medical treatment the next day.
Where did you go?
I went to urgent care in Pewaukee.
What injuries did you sustain as a result of the vehicle striking your foot?
I had a hematoma on my left big toe, and I had my ankle was sprained. I went to see an orthopedic doctor who said that there was tissue damage.
Did you bring your son Isaac to seek medical treatment at any point after the parade?
I did, also the next day with me.
Same location?
Yes.
What injuries did Isaac sustain as a result of this incident?
Sprain on his left leg.
I would like to project for the witness only. Actually, 36 was that it? Actually, for the jury as well, Exhibit 36, which has previously been published.
Go ahead.
And can we play this without any sound at about 30%, please, from the beginning?
Go ahead.
And we can pause there at 9 seconds. Mr. Ramirez, did you see either yourself or your son Isaac in that portion of the video?
Slightly, yes.
On which side?
On the left.
And can you describe what you were wearing?
I was wearing a pink jacket.
Can you describe what Isaac was wearing?
He was wearing a green jacket.
We show for the for the witness only, Exhibit 43.
Go ahead.
Mr. Ramirez, can you let me know when you see something on the screen in front of you?
I can see it.
You can, okay. Do you recognize this screenshot?
Yes, I do.
What does it show us?
I can see just a little bit of myself, but I can see Isaac on there.
Does this depict you and Isaac before, during, or after you were struck?
Before.
Is this an accurate depiction of how you looked that day?
Yes.
Isaac as well?
Yes.
Move Exhibit 43 into evidence and ask to publish.
Objection, where are they in the video?
Your objection is noted. The exhibit number 43 is received. Permission to publish is granted.
Can we zoom in on the middle left of that photo, please? Okay, just so we know what we're looking at, the screen in front of you is a touch screen. Can you use your finger and circle Isaac for us?
Yes.
And that's the green jacket you described?
Yes.
Okay, and on which side of the screen?
On the middle left.
Okay. Can you circle yourself now, if you see it? And that's the pink jacket you described?
Yep.
Right next to Isaac?
Yes.
All right, we can clear that, please. Can we show the witness only, please? Exhibit number 45.
Go ahead.
Do you see the picture?
I do.
Okay. And what does this depict?
It looks like a picture of after getting struck by the vehicle.
Do you see either yourself or Isaac in this photo?
I see both.
And is this an accurate picture of how you looked after the vehicle struck you?
Yes.
Move Exhibit 45 into evidence and ask to publish.
Objection. Can't really see.
Your objection is noted. It's overruled. Exhibit 45 is received. Permission to publish is granted.
Can we please zoom in on the middle left? Can you use that touch screen again, Mr. Ramirez, and circle where you are? And now can you please circle Isaac? Same pink and green jackets we've been talking about?
Yes.
Left side of the screen?
Yes.
Okay, we can clear that, please. Could we please show the witness only, exhibit number 40?
Go ahead.
You see the photograph in front of you?
Yes.
Are you in that photograph?
I am.
What does this show?
That shows me getting up afterwards, after the incident.
Is this an accurate screenshot of how you looked after the SUV came through?
Yes.
Move Exhibit 40 into evidence and ask to publish.
Exhibit 40 is received, permission to publish is granted, similar to one of the prior exhibits. You'll notice there are some comments on the right-hand side. The jury is instructed to disregard those when considering this exhibit.
Thank you. Could we zoom in on the middle of this, please? Once again, Ms. Ramirez, if you see yourself, could you please circle up yourself for us? Thank you. And do you see Isaac in this screenshot?
I don't.
Okay. We can clear that and zoom back out. That's all I have for this witness. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Quick objection on that last exhibit, because you just said that.
We'll take that up outside the presence of the jury. Don't let me forget. All right, then go ahead if you have any cross for this witness.
You stated that you went to the urgent care in Pewaukee the next day. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, it is.
What caused the day delay?
As I was trying to find my other child who was at the parade but not with, like, right with me, among all the other people that were injured, I was able to see how many people were on the ground needing immediate help, how much blood was on the ground at that time, that I chose to wait until the next day, since I knew I was hurt, but I did not need immediate attention as other people did.
So you had went home for the evening and decided to just go to urgent care the next day?
Yes.
So from your recollection, you weren't in need of immediate medical attention?
I was in need of medical attention, but not immediately.
Any reason why you didn't take your son to seek immediate attention?
He was able to walk out of there with me. He was limping, but he was able to walk out of there with me. So that's why we decided to wait until the next day.
Do you recall giving an interview with a detective agent?
I remember giving an interview. I don't recall his name.
Do you recall the date that you gave the interview?
I can't remember.
Was it a few days after the incident, a week, or?
It was a few days after. I cannot remember the exact date.
Any idea why it took a few days to make a report?
We were in touch right away. It just took a few days for us to set up the interview.
Did you seek to make a report the evening of the incident?
No.
Any reason why?
I was in shock.
So at the time you didn't feel like you needed to make a report immediately? Would that be fair to say?
As I said before, I was in shock. I got home with a basically mental breakdown. So I was crying when I got home. I did not think of anything else.
You stated your boyfriend was with you that evening. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Do you know if he was injured in any way?
He was not.
You stated that you heard him saying, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Do you know where he went from that moment?
He proceeded to move backwards to not get hurt.
In the videos that you saw, did you see him in the video anywhere?
I can't remember.
So it'd be fair to say that you couldn't see him in the videos that you just saw like 2-3 minutes ago.
I could see myself and Isaac. I remember what we were wearing. I cannot remember what he was wearing.
Any reason why you remember what you and your son was wearing, but not your boyfriend who was present with you at the incident?
Because I'm the one that dresses myself and my child. I don't know what he wears at that time, at any time.
Do you remember seeing him directly after the incident?
I do.
Did he leave with you when you left to go home?
He did, yes.
And you were also there with other children
Yes.
of yours, correct?
Yes.
Were any of those children hurt in the incident?
Just scrapes from moving out of the way, but not hurt by the vehicle.
So they weren't struck by the vehicle to your knowledge?
They were not.
Do you recall where they were when the vehicle passed you?
Where they were exactly when the vehicle passed, I know that they were to the right of me. I believe they were behind me at the time.
Do you know about how far approximately from you they were?
I do not.
Do you remember if you were next to an intersection or a cross street?
To the left of me, there was an intersection. I was not directly at the intersection, as there were more people to the left of me.
Do you remember what intersection that was? As I have stated before, I can't remember exactly which intersection it was. I just remember being across the street from Chef Pam's kitchen. Do we have Exhibit 15, I believe it is?
Sure. We do.
Can you pull that up for us?
Permission granted.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
We put up on the big screen. Okay?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It comes up on our screens prior to anyone else, so. There you go. Is it zoomed in enough?
Yeah. Can you see the screen right now in front of you?
Yes.
Can you make out your names on that screen?
Yes.
Can you see the black line pointing to a star?
I can.
Where would you estimate that is?
That looks like it's on Main Street and Broadway.
So it would be fair to say that that cross street was in fact Broadway?
Yes.
Can the record reflect that the cross street of Broadway is identified? Okay.
The record will still reflect.
Do you see the red line right there
under the star inside of the police badge emblem?
Yes,
Do you know what that red line indicates?
I do not.
Do you know if there was a barrier at that intersection?
I remember seeing barriers. I cannot recall if there was one at that intersection.
Do you recall where you saw the barriers at?
I don't recall.
Did you see the barriers anywhere in your vicinity, in your immediate vicinity where you were stationed at?
Like I said, I can't remember.
Do you recall when you first, oh, you can pull this down, I'm sorry. Take that off the screen. Do you recall what you were, oh, let me back up. Do you recall seeing the vehicle approach?
I do.
Did the vehicle strike that? Were you able to estimate how fast the vehicle was traveling at that point when it was approaching you?
I wouldn't know how fast it was traveling.
Did you make out the make and model of the vehicle that was approaching?
All I remember is there was a red SUV. I can't remember I wasn't able to see what the make and model was.
Did you see the driver?
I did not.
Were there any tints to the vehicle that you recall?
I can't remember.
Did you catch the license plate number?
I did not.
Did you observe the vehicle strike anyone before it got to you?
Yes, I did.
After it passed you?
Before it passed me.
After it passed you?
I want to ask the question more fully so it's clear.
Did you observe the vehicle strike anyone once it passed you?
I did not.
Do you recall your boyfriend taking a video of the incident?
Yes, I do.
Have you seen that video?
Yes, I have.
Was that video given to any law enforcement that you recall?
It was not.
Any reason why?
Because when the vehicle came towards us, it was moving way too much because of him moving back, and it was too blurry to see anything.
So it would be fair to say the video was pretty much disregarded at that point.
Yes.
Any reason why it would be disregarded?
You could hear the screaming, but as I said, you could not see anything.
So it was fair to say it was disregarded because the video, in fact, could not, you couldn't see anything from the video?
Yes.
When you and your son were treated for your injuries at Urgent Care in Pewaukee, about how long did the treatment last before you were discharged?
We were there for at least an hour.
Why so briefly? Grounds.
Argumentative. Sustained.
Were you given any pain medication during your treatment?
Objection, relevance.
Grounds.
Overruled. She may answer.
I was not.
Do you know if your son was given any pain medication at that time?
No, he was not.
Do you recall it being pretty loud out there that evening?
Yes, I do.
Pretty windy, pretty cold?
I can't remember.
It'd be fair to say it was chilly enough to wear a jacket or a coat. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that maybe it was windy enough to wear a winter cap?
Yes.
Do you recall if you were wearing a winter cap?
I do.
And do you recall if you had it pulled low, possibly over your ears?
No.
You don't recall? I'm sorry, I didn't know what the no was to, that's why.
I was wearing a headband. I was not wearing a cap.
It'd be fair to just say that you just said you was wearing a cap.
No. You asked if I recalled if I was wearing one. I said yes, I recall.
That you were wearing a cap.
I recall if I was, and it was a winter headband.
I might have been confused. I apologize.
Ask the next question, please.
I don't consent to that now, Your Honor, for the record. Do you recall if anyone else you was with was wearing a winter cap?
I don't recall.
After your initial treatment at urgent care in Pewaukee, did you receive any more treatment after that?
Yes, I did.
Did your son receive any more treatment after that?
He did not.
No further questions.
Be redirect.
On cross-examination, you testified that you saw other people get struck before the SUV got to you and your family, right?
Yes.
What group in the parade was in front of you at the moment that the SUV got to your family?
Extreme dance.
Did you see those girls get hit?
I did.
Did you see the aftermath after the SUV went through that area?
Yes, I did.
Based on what you saw with those girls getting hit, if you and Isaac had been standing 18 inches to the north, do you think you would have delayed until the next day to seek medical treatment?
Objection, that's subjective.
Sustained.
I don't have anything else for this witness. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. You may step down.
You can have a seat, and thank you, everyone. Please be seated. State may call its next witness.
Thank you. The state will call Stephanie Bonesteel.
Good morning, Ms. Bonesteel. If you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is to my right. It is up a riser. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand. My clerk, Teresa, who's on my left, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat. First thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
My name is Stephanie Bonesteel, Stefanie Bonesteel.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Bonesteel. Good morning. Could you please tell me your occupation?
I am the head of the marketing area of Citizens Bank.
And directing your attention to November of 2021, were you tasked with assembling some co-workers to march in the Waukesha Christmas Parade that year?
Yes, I was. That is a common thing that we do, is
Okay.
participate in parades.
Okay. And did you have a co-worker by the name of Jane Kulik?
Yes, I did.
What was Jane's role at the bank, please?
Jane was a teller at our Waukesha branch.
Okay. And did Jane agree to participate in the parade on November 21 of 21?
She did.
Were you there?
Yes, I was.
Did Citizens Bank have a float in the parade?
Yes, we did.
Could you describe that, please?
Yes, we had a float that was pulled behind a vehicle. It was decorated for the season, and we do not have anybody riding on our floats. Typically, we have people who walk alongside the float and hand out candy.
About how many people were participating with your group that afternoon?
That afternoon, we have 15 in our group, 8 employees plus 7 friends or family members.
Okay. Did you actually walk in the parade, ma'am?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did Jane actually walk in the parade?
Yes, she did.
I'd like to display for the witness only exhibit number 47, please.
Go ahead.
In a minute, it'll show up on your screen. Just tell me when you see it, please.
I see it.
Okay. Do you recognize the people and the events that are depicted in exhibit number 47?
Yes, I do.
Do you see Jane Kulik in this picture?
Yes, I do.
Does this, are you in this picture?
I don't see that I am.
Okay. Did you walk in the parade with any family members?
Yes, my daughter and my son were there walking alongside with us, and my husband was driving the vehicle.
Okay. And the actual photograph that I've put up for you, you don't see yourself in that photo?
I don't think I see myself in this photo.
Okay. Do you see Jane Kulik in the photo?
Yes, I do.
Are you able to identify Jane in the photo?
Yes.
Do you believe this photo was a true and accurate representation of the way Jane looked that day as she walked in the parade?
Yes.
What do you remember about her clothing?
She had on a hat. I guess I would describe it as a Santa hat that looked like it maybe had a Mickey Mouse bow on top. And she had leggings on that were patterned. Several of us were wearing red ponchos that we provide to anyone who's participating in a parade. If they wish to wear them, we don't make them, but it's just another layer of warmth, and it then is obvious that we're part of the bank group with those red ponchos on. She is wearing a red poncho.
All right, permission to publish, or move to admit and permission to publish number 47, please.
Exhibit 47 is received. Permission to publish is granted.
Objection.
So, Ms. Bonesteel, the screen in front of you is a touch screen. Could you just circle or mark with an X where Jane is in this picture? Whoops. And it looks like maybe she's in the act of throwing some candy or something like that. Is that right?
Yes, that's what I believe. She must have, those blue bags had candy in them.
Okay. Now, did there come a point, you could take that down, please. Did there come a point in time when you were marching in the parade when something awful happened?
Objection.
Overruled, she may answer.
For the record, she did shake her head in the affirmative.
Yes.
Thank you. It was a yes.
Okay. I'd like for you to kind of walk us through it as you remember it, okay? Start out by telling us, you and your kids, where were you as a relationship to the float that your husband was driving?
My kids and I were on the driver's side of the vehicle, but behind the vehicle a ways. I would say I was probably 10 to 15 yards behind the back corner of the float.
Okay. So there's the truck and then there's the trailer with the float on it, right?
Yes, the truck, we have a Suburban. The Suburban was pulling the float.
Okay. So you were the truck, the float, and then you're still 10 or 15 feet back.
10 or 15 yards.
10 or 15 yards, thank you.
Back.
Okay. And what's the approximate age of your kids?
At the time, my daughter was 13 and my son was 10.
Okay. So they're near you?
They were near me. I knew they were on the same side of the street as I was. I knew they were ahead of me, so closer to where the vehicle was.
Okay.
But I didn't know exactly where they were. They were also walking along and throwing out candy.
Okay. What do you remember next?
I spent a good time as the leader of the group. I'm always keeping my eye on everybody who is participating to make sure everybody's doing well. I also was, during this parade, looking back at the unit behind us. Coincidentally, my daughter's two friends were part of the Waukesha Extreme Dance team, so they were performing
Okay.
in the unit behind us, and I, when I could, would look behind and glance at the girls dancing.
Okay.
At one point, I glanced behind me towards where the dance team was. I turned my attention that way because there seemed to be some sort of commotion. I can't explain what it was. Parades, if you've ever been in a parade, are very loud. There's music. There's a lot of crowd noise. But something made me look and think, what was that?
Okay. Something unique, something that wasn't right.
Correct.
I believe no witness.
Overruled, her answer may stand. Keep that in mind going forward.
Go ahead.
I turned my attention back forward towards our group. And I again turned back towards the dance team because, again, something maybe I had heard, something maybe that, again, seemed out of place. And that's when I realized I saw headlights.
Now, were these headlights part of the extreme dance team or something else?
I realized within a second or two that no. I could see the truck. I believe it was a larger black truck that was part of the dance team's unit.
Okay.
I saw that, and to the right of that, so it would be the, again, driver's side of the truck, is where I saw this other set of headlights.
Did the headlights get closer to you?
Yes, I quickly realized that the headlights were coming basically straight at me.
Were you able to get a description of this vehicle with the headlights driving in your direction?
As it passed, I realized it was an SUV.
Do you remember the color?
I do not.
Okay. You remember it was an SUV.
Yes.
Where were you when it passed by?
I was on the street. I was near the curb, but not up on the sidewalk.
Okay. Would that be the south side of the street or the left-hand side of the street as you're marching westbound? No, I'm sorry, south side of the street.
Yes, it would have been the south side of the street.
Okay.
And again, it appeared the headlights were coming straight at me and then turned a little to the right, so more towards the center of the street.
Okay.
Shortly before it passed me, I would say the vehicle passed me within 3 to 5 feet.
Okay. Were you able to see the driver of the vehicle?
No, I was not.
Okay. What did you do when this vehicle went past you?
Honestly, my biggest concern is where my kids were. I didn't know exactly what their positions were. More than I was concerned about getting out of the way, I was concerned that they were not in the path of this car.
Did you see the car continue past the float for Citizens Bank?
Yes, after it passed me and I was searching, I did notice that there was a clear area on the street ahead of me, about to where the vehicle was. Not so much the float, but the vehicle. So there was
The one your husband's driving?
the one my husband was driving.
Okay.
Again, the street was fairly clear. So I was searching with my eyes and running up towards the crowd on the side, again looking to see if I could spot my kids. And that's when I noticed that there was a person in the street about where our vehicle was, about it's hard to tell exactly where, but I would say next to some part of the vehicle.
Your husband's vehicle?
Right.
Okay.
And this person was running forward. I assume trying to get out of the way.
Could you see who the person was?
At that point, I couldn't tell exactly who it was. I knew it was someone from our group because I could see the red poncho, and I could see the hat. I should mention that Jane was not the only one wearing a hat. There were 2 other people that were wearing the similar hats.
Okay. Did you see the SUV strike the person running in the red poncho?
I did.
Tell us what you remember, please.
I remember seeing the vehicle basically moving at a pretty high rate of speed towards the person that was running. I do remember seeing taillights, but not brake lights. And I, again, am watching this from the back. I think before I even remember seeing anything, I heard a very loud impact.
What did it sound like?
A very, very loud thud.
And then what?
At that point, I also remember hearing a very audible gasp. I don't know if that was from the crowd, the people watching, or if it was from the person that was struck. I then saw from the back, I guess it maybe wasn't enough of an angle. I could see that there was a person on the vehicle, and I did see the red poncho above the roof of the vehicle.
Okay.
At one point for a second.
Did the SUV then pass around your husband's truck on the driver's side?
Yes.
Overruled. Her answer may stand.
Where did you see it go?
I saw it continue forward around the front of the vehicle, and from there I lost sight of the vehicle, and at that point I just started going through the crowd and to find my kids.
Okay. Were you able to locate your kids?
Yes.
Were they physically injured in any way?
No, they were not physically injured.
How about you? Were you physically injured in any way?
No, I was not physically injured.
After you found your kids, you remember where you went or what you did?
I found my son first, and then I found my daughter within a few seconds of one another. I grabbed onto them. And a few seconds after that, my husband came running from where he was and grabbed onto us. At some point, I don't know who, I don't know if it was people from our group, I don't know if it was the crowd, but people grabbed us and moved us up onto the sidewalk.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I don't have any other questions at this point.
Thank you.
Mr. Brooks, any questions for this witness?
Yes, I do. For the record, I don't consent to that name. You stated that you were part of the parade as the Citizens Bank. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Was that your first time participating in the parade, or have you done it before that evening?
We have participated in probably 20 parades over the last 5 years. I have been in that particular parade at least once before.
Why pay over $100 a month for cable when it's half the cost for Fubo TV? Get all the channels you want with all the entertainment you love for the price that cable can't beat. Try free.
You said that you saw headlights from the vehicle that was approaching. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Do you recall if it was still daylight at that time?
I would say it was dusk.
And what would you consider to be dusk? Still light, or?
It was more dark than light.
Do you recall about what time of evening that was?
Based on when the parade started, I would estimate it to be about 4:30.
So from your recollection, it was more dark at 4:30 p.m. than light?
Yes.
And you also testified that the vehicle came 3 to 5 feet from you. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it is.
Would you say that's pretty close?
Yes, I would.
And you also said you weren't able to identify the color of the vehicle. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
So my question would be, with the vehicle being that close, how were you not able to identify the color of the vehicle?
Objection argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Were you able to see a license plate from the vehicle?
I'm sure I would be able to see, but in a state of fear and panic, I wasn't able to register what it was.
So would it be fair to say that because of that same reason is why you wouldn't be able to identify the color of the vehicle?
Correct.
You also said you saw tail lights. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, I did.
Were the tail lights bright?
They were illuminated like normal taillights.
Would that for any reason be able to impede you from being able to see the license plates?
Objection argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Do you recall where you, or let me back up, did you go inside of any buildings after the incident?
Yes, we were asked to go inside of the Nice Ash cigar bar.
About how close was the Nice Ash cigar bar to where you were participating in the parade?
It was pretty much right there.
Would that have been on the side of the street that you were on or the opposite side?
That was on the same same side of the street that I was on.
Do you recall if you were close to any intersections at that time?
I was more in the middle of the block than closer to an intersection.
Do you remember any cross streets? Because you said you were in the middle of the block. Do you remember the cross streets or the next cross street that would have been ahead of you?
I would not be able to name the street by name. I am not that familiar with downtown Waukesha.
Do you recall any side streets at all during the parade route?
I do remember crossing several of them.
Do you recall if they were barricaded in any way?
most of the streets had a large number of people standing in them. Whether there were barricades behind the people, I am not sure.
Did you observe any law enforcement standing at those cross streets?
Yes, I recall seeing law enforcement at least some of the cross streets.
And you testified that you did not see the driver. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Do you recall giving any police report or being interviewed by any law enforcement?
Yes.
Do you recall if that was the same day of the incident or in the days following?
I gave my statement to a police detective on Friday of that same week, the day after Thanksgiving.
So that would be around the 26th of 2021, November the 26th of 2021. Would that be fair to say?
Building your online business? Go to Wix.com and set up your store on a single integrated platform. Add products, showcase them dynamically, and seamlessly track your inventory. Accept multiple secure payments, and design your storefront down to the very last detail. Get all the tools you need. Drive more sales with customizable gift cards and flexible product subscriptions. Retain customers with a point-based loyalty program, email automations, and reach millions with sales channel integrations. Complete your setup with a personalized analytics dashboard. Make smart business decisions and shape the next phase of your business. Build, manage, and grow from one place. Go to Wix and launch your online business today.
Problems rarely fix themselves, like this leaky faucet. It's older than I am. And it's better not to wait. Kind of like getting an orthodontist to help you spot a problem before it becomes a problem. And you don't even need your referral. Find an orthodontist at aaoinfo.org. Take it from me. I'm raising a family.
I believe yes, it would be November 26th.
Do you recall why it would take almost a week to be interviewed or to make a report?
Objection,
Grounds.
argumentative, beyond the scope of the witness's
Grounds.
knowledge.
Grounds.
Also calls for speculation on the part of the witness. It's sustained.
Do you remember who the law enforcement officer was that you gave your statement to?
He was a detective with the Waukesha, City of Waukesha Police Department. I do not recall his name at this time.
You stated that you don't recall seeing the path of the traveling vehicle after it had passed you. Would that be fair to say?
I did not see the vehicle once it had traveled beyond my husband's vehicle.
Did you see it strike anyone at that point?
I saw it strike a person when it was parallel next to my husband's vehicle.
Did you see it strike anyone after that point?
No, I could not see the vehicle past that point.
Did you see the vehicle strike anyone before it got to the location that you were at?
No, I did not.
Do you recall reading or seeing a complaint in this matter in any way?
Objection.
Grounds.
Sustained.
To the best of your knowledge, have you filed any claims in this matter?
No, I have not.
Would you consider yourself to be a party to this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevant.
Sustained.
Were you aware that it might be a possibility that you would be called to testify in this matter?
Yes, I did.
Were you in fact subpoenaed by anyone to testify in this matter?
Yes, I was.
Do you recall by whom?
By the state of Wisconsin.
And when you say the state of Wisconsin, who do you refer to?
Objection.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Have you had any interactions with the state of Wisconsin?
Objection.
Grounds.
It's vague. Sustained. You may rephrase if you so choose.
Did you have any phone conversations or any physical conversations with the state of Wisconsin?
Objection.
Grounds.
Sustained. You can rephrase if you would like.
People with disabilities are all around you. We're
Do you even know the state of Wisconsin?
Objection.
Grounds.
Argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustained.
It would be fair to say, based on your testimony, that you were in fact called to testify by the state of Wisconsin.
Objection asked and answered.
Grounds. I didn't even finish the question. And I had the grounds on that.
Finish your question and then I'll rule.
Seeing as how that you were called to testify by the state of Wisconsin, it would be fair to say that you've actually saw the state of Wisconsin.
Objection.
Grounds.
It's vague.
Grounds.
Sustained.
To the best of your knowledge, would the state of Wisconsin be the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Irrelevant.
Grounds.
Sustained.
And I had the grounds for the sustain.
Sustained.
Your Honor, with all due respect, the jury needs to know this. They deserve to know this.
Next question.
Are you aware that, to the best of your knowledge, are you aware that for a case, there has to be an injured party?
Objection.
Grounds.
Irrelevant.
Grounds.
Sustained.
As you said, the state of Wisconsin called you to testify. Did they at any time identify themselves as an injured party in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Argumentative.
Grounds.
Irrelevant.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Reason for the sustain, Your Honor?
Continue, Mr. Brooks.
Any reason for the sustain?
It's sustained.
May I have the grounds, Your Honor?
Keep going, Mr. Brooks.
This is information that the jury deserves to know, Your Honor.
The jury is the judge of the facts only, and the court is the judge of the law. Keep going, Mr. Brooks.
No further questions.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You may step down.